In April 1990, two brothers went missing from the yard of their apartment complex in Richmond, Virginia. 3 days later, one brother is found murdered and the other remains missing. More than 3 decades later, investigators still don't know exactly who took the boys, why one was killed, or what happened to the other. This is the story of one of Virginia's most haunting unsolved cases. Today we're discussing the disappearance of Jamal Abdul'Faruq and the murder of his older brother Basil. This episode contains discussion of violence involving children and may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Virginia is filled with history, hidden secrets, and stories that refuse to be forgotten. Across small towns, winding back roads, and quiet communities, some mysteries remain unsolved, waiting for answers that may never come. Come along as I reopen the files, retrace the evidence, and explore the unanswered questions behind the Commonwealth's most chilling unsolved crimes. Each episode will examine the facts, hear the stories, and shine a light on cases that have gone cold but are far from forgotten. Are you ready to dive into the darkness? I'm your host, Alicia Nicole, and this is Unsolved Virginia. April 16, 1990 began as an ordinary spring day. The boys had just spent time with their father, Everett Abdul'Faruq, and their stepmother at the nearby Bird Park. Around 2:30 that afternoon, they were dropped off with their mother at their home at the Palms Apartments on Clarkson Road in Richmond. Their mother, Tambra Ellis, had just worked an overnight shift at the DuPont factory where she was employed and was exhausted. But the boys wanted to go outside and play, which wasn't unusual. In fact, children from the complex frequently played outside alone. The boys even walked to school alone most days. So she agreed, warning the boys to stay close and not to go inside anyone's house. Basil and Jamal went outside, and that would be the last confirmed sighting of either boy. About 2 hours later, their mother woke up and expected to find her sons nearby. Instead, she found an empty courtyard. At first, it wasn't panic. Children wander, they visit friends, and they play in different areas of the complex. But as minutes turned into an hour, concern grew. Family members searched, neighbors searched. The apartment grounds were checked, nearby wooded areas were examined. They even checked a nearby convenience store, hoping that the boys had wandered there. No sign of Basil, no sign of Jamal. Tambra is quoted by CNN as saying, "After about maybe 4 or 5 minutes of looking for your kids, you go through a wave of different emotions. You know they're not up in someone's house because they knew I wouldn't have allowed it. I just couldn't believe they weren't within hearing distance." Eventually, the police were called. What followed was a massive search, including police search teams, canine units, and volunteers. Ellis was in the Army Reserves at the time, so many of her service mates also joined in on the search. Again, they searched nearby woods, businesses, and canvassed the neighborhood. No sign of the boys. Perhaps one of the most haunting facts of this case is that despite the complex being relatively well populated, no one seemed to know where the boys had gone. No witness could definitively explain their disappearance. No one reported seeing them leave. No one reported hearing screams. It was as if the brother had simply vanished. Investigators soon began to consider a terrifying possibility: abduction. Police ultimately concluded that someone likely took the boys while they were playing outside that afternoon. For 3 agonizing days, the search continued and family members waited. Investigators chased leads and hope remained. But then, on April 19th, 1990, everything changed. A worker at the Shoesmith landfill in Chesterfield County, about 10 miles away from the boys' home, made a horrifying discovery. The body of a child had been found among the trash, tossed aside, protruding from the mountains of garbage inside a trash bag. The child was identified as 8-year-old Basil Abdul'Faruq, and the details were devastating. An autopsy revealed that Basil had been stabbed twice in the back, he had been bound and gagged, and his skull had been fractured post-mortem. Investigators suspect that he was disposed of in a dumpster and then transported to the landfill in a dump truck. And from that moment on, the case was transformed from a missing persons case into a homicide investigation, and the search for Jamal became even more urgent. If one brother had been murdered, what happened to the other? Authorities immediately focused on locating Jamal. If he was alive, time was critical. If he was dead, investigators needed answers. Search teams spent days examining the landfill where Basil's body had been discovered. The work was difficult, dangerous, and mentally and emotionally exhausting. Every pile of trash represented a possibility. Every bag had to be considered. In the end, despite those efforts, investigators found nothing. No clothing, no more remains, no trace at all of Jamal. Whenever a child disappears or is murdered, investigators begin with those closest to the victim. Family members are often examined first, not because they are presumed guilty, but because statistically they are likely to possess critical information. Police initially pointed their attention to the boy's father, Abdul'Faruq, because he had refused to give a polygraph test, stating it was against his religion because they were Muslim. Search warrants were executed, and a roll of duct tape along with some other items were collected from his home. However, from all the reports that I could find, none of them seemed to have any significance or value to the investigation. From what I can tell, search warrants were also executed at the mother's home, but again, nothing was found that indicated she was connected to the crime. Ultimately, authorities publicly stated that both parents had been ruled out as suspects, and without a viable suspect, eventually the case ran cold. Until 19 years later. When America's Most Wanted aired an episode about the boy's case, authorities received an anonymous tip from someone saying they had seen someone who looked like Jamal in a Walmart in Hinesville, Georgia. A few days later, they received a second tip through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. This person explained that he had a friend who he thought looked an awful lot like the age-enhanced photos of Jamal that had been released. They further explained that they had been inside this person's apartment in Hinesville, Georgia, and had seen photos of them as a child that also looked like the photos of Jamal as a child that had been released. However, the caller could not be verified, and when police viewed the surveillance footage from the Walmart, they could not verify the identity of the man suspected of being Jamal. And again, the case ran cold. So to this day, it remains unsolved. No arrests, no charges, no public identification of a killer. One intriguing detail emerged in later years. According to reports, investigators stated that they believed they knew who was responsible for abducting and killing the boys, but they declined to publicly identify that individual. Sources suggested that it was someone known to the children. That statement raises obvious questions. Did investigators have a prime suspect but insufficient evidence? Did a key witness refuse to cooperate? Did the suspect die before charges could be filed? Unfortunately, those answers have never been publicly released. In unsolved cases, theories inevitably emerge. Some people speculate that the person responsible knew the boys. This theory is supported by statements suggesting investigators believe the perpetrator may have known the boys. Children are generally more willing to approach or accompany someone that they recognize. If the boys left voluntarily with an adult they trusted, that could explain the lack of witnesses and the absence of a struggle. If the boys left voluntarily with an adult they trusted, that could explain the lack of witnesses and the absence of a struggle. Others think it is an opportunistic abduction. The boys were playing outside in a large apartment complex during daylight hours. A predator passing through the area could have easily identified an opportunity and acted quickly. However, abducting two children simultaneously is extremely risky, making this theory somewhat more difficult to reconcile. Some people even theorize that Jamal survived. When asked in an interview, Tambra Ellis says, "In my heart of hearts, I still have faith that he's alive and living his own life. If you are, I want to tell you to come home. I miss you. You can always come home." This is perhaps the most emotionally compelling possibility. Because Jamal's body has never been found, some have wondered whether he might have survived. Over the years, age-progressed images have been created showing what Jamal could look like as an adult. Investigators have followed tips suggesting he may have been alive years after the disappearance. However, none have been publicly confirmed. Most investigators appear to believe Jamal was likely killed, but without physical evidence, certainty remains elusive. Cases involving missing children often create a unique kind of grief. A homicide, as tragic as it is, at least provides certainty, while a missing child leaves questions that never end. A hole in your life where that child should be. Holidays don't feel the same. That child's birthday comes and passes as if it were any other day. For the Abdul'Faruq family, both realities existed simultaneously. One son was murdered, the other disappeared without a trace. Every birthday, every holiday, each passing year, a reminder of answers that never came. In interviews over the years, family members have spoken out about the enduring pain and uncertainty surrounding the case. Even decades later, the loss remains immediate and personal. Today, investigators possess tools that did not exist in 1990. DNA analysis has evolved dramatically, forensic databases are larger, and evidence can sometimes yield results decades after a crime. Investigators have previously indicated interest in re-examining evidence from the case using newer forensic methods. Cold case investigators across the country have been able to reopen and solve murders that were once considered impossible to crack. Cases 30, 40, even 50 years old have been reopened and solved. That means hope remains. As long as evidence exists, as long as witnesses are alive, as long as somebody remembers something. One of the most frustrating aspects of many cold cases is the possibility that someone has always known the truth. Maybe they heard a confession, maybe they saw suspicious behavior, maybe they dismissed a detail that seemed insignificant at the time. Investigators often say that solving cold cases depends on one thing: someone finally deciding to talk. Detective Baines says, "I believe there are people out there who were living in Richmond at the time and remember this case that might have some information that could help us." If police were correct when they suggested years ago that they knew who was responsible, then perhaps the missing piece has never been identifying the suspect. Perhaps the missing piece has been proving it. And sometimes proving it requires a witness who has remained silent for decades. Today, Jamal Abdul'Faruq would be 44 years old. He is described as a black man with black hair and brown eyes. Jamal has a scar on his right eyebrow and a mole on his temple above his left ear. He had a small gap between his upper front teeth at the time of his disappearance. Someone knows what happened. For Basil, for Jamal, and for their family, the hope is that one day the truth will finally emerge. If you have information regarding the disappearance of Jamal Abdul'Faruq or the murder of Basil Abdul'Faruq, investigators encourage you to contact the Metro Richmond Crime Stoppers at 804-780-1000. I'm Alicia. Thanks for listening.